Yeah, the association takes no time off. Straight from the finals to teams looking to improve their rosters to go ahead and follow suit. It is officially NBA Draft Week. Here's a look at the top 5 selections in Wednesday's draft. The Mavericks on the clock first, followed by the Spurs, Sixers, Hornets, then followed by the Jazz. Well, the only thing more certain than Cooper Flagg going to the Mavs on Wednesday is the heavy hitters we brought in to dissect this upcoming NBA draft. We are joined by CBS Sports basketball analyst Adam Finkelstein, Kyle Boone, Gary Parrish, as we're going to do a deep dive. I'm going from picks 1 through 30. And guys, we got to start this off because it's no secret. There's zero secret surrounding what to expect at number 1. The Mavs receiving the biggest lottery break, landing that top pick. Cooper Flagg set to make his NBA debut at just 18 years old. So Gary, start us off. How would you describe the type of player the Mavs are getting out of Flagg?
Well, he's a well-rounded, impactful basketball player on both ends of the court. A young man who entered college with an incredible level of hype, and yet he either met or exceeded all expectations while becoming the youngest Wooden Award winner in college basketball history. He, as everybody knows at this point, led Duke in 5 major individual statistical categories and had them really within a couple of victories of a national championship. They were, by the time they got to the Final Four, Duke, the favorite to cut down nets and get that national title for John Shire. Obviously came up short of that, but it did nothing to take away from the freshman season that Cooper Flagg had in Durham. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed. I can't promise you he will be the best player from this draft, but I can promise you there is no franchise that would take anybody other than Cooper Flagg first overall in this 2025 NBA draft.
And I can also promise all of you that producer Lucas is doing the math on 30 picks in 1 hour, so we will go on to number 2, where maybe we'll say the draft starts. Maybe there's certainty there as well. San Antonio dealing with change in their leadership group, uncertainty with the top pick from 2023, but back-to-back rookies of the year. Kyle, who's the youth piece they'll be adding to this young core already?
Yeah, it's going to be Dylan Harper from Rutgers. This is how the draft is expected to go on Wednesday night. Cooper Flagg will go number 1. Dylan Harper will go number 2. I don't think there will be any surprises here. Dylan Harper, left-handed lead guard from Rutgers. His father played in the NBA, Ron Harper. And this is someone who reminds me a little bit of Jalen Brunson. Very polished as a scorer, as a creator. He can do a number of different things. And, you know, Adam Finkelstein is on this stream with us, and he can attest to this. This is someone who has long been identified as a future lottery pick. He will fulfill that destiny on Wednesday. He's a former 5-star recruit, produced at a really high level when he was healthy last season at Rutgers, and will join a core that includes Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio with that young core in the Spurs.
I love that. And so now that we've got the expected out of the way, we go ahead and move to number 3. And prior to almost a week ago, it almost seemed certain Ace Bailey was a surefire pick for the Sixers at 3, but canceling his workout, and that might have caused some issues. Has that ship sailed there, Adam?
We don't know. I mean, that is the simple, short answer. We don't know if Philadelphia or anyone else, for that matter, is going to call Ace Bailey's bluff. I think right now most people are forecasting VJ Edgecombe, so that's what we've gone with in this exercise. Although I will tell you that Trey Johnson is getting some increasing momentum for Philly as well. I think with Edgecombe, though, what they get is a high-level athlete, a great competitor, and a two-way player. And he's got to continue to round out his shooting, his overall guard skills. We saw a lot of progression with that this year at Baylor. And that's going to need to continue for him to live up to the expectations that go along with being the number 3 pick overall. But as I said, this is really where the draft begins. Right now, I think Edgecombe is the odds-on favorite, but there's a few different directions that Philadelphia could go with this pick.
All right, needs beyond as we look at the Hornets, who didn't crack the 20-win mark a season ago. They sit at 4. Gary, there's some talented pieces on the roster, but feels a bit directionless right now. Is there a difference maker to be had at 4?
I think so, and I would take Trey Johnson here from the University of Texas. This is a young man that I believe is the third best prospect in this draft. I agree with most when they say Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper should go 1 and 2, but where I separate a little bit is that I would take Trey Johnson third in this draft, and I was saying that even before the pre-draft process for Ace Bailey got unusual and complicated. This is a young man who, at 6'5", shot nearly 40% from three-point range in his one and only season of college basketball. He's a great athlete, led all freshmen in scoring, and was impactful pretty much from the jump down in Austin. So this is somebody that can obviously shoot it and is perhaps the best shooter in this draft, with Knippel being another candidate for that label. But good positional size, great athlete, can really shoot it. Those are characteristics that I would look for in any backcourt NBA prospect.
Absolutely. And we move our way to number 5, a team with the worst overall record in the league this past season. And instead of landing that top pick, well, the Utah Jazz picking 5th. That's a team I think we can all say undoubtedly in the midst of a rebuild. Point guard, a big need there. They could be looking to leverage some of their young assets to make a move for a big star. We've seen that already done this week. But Kyle, what direction would you see them going on Wednesday?
Yeah, if this is how the board plays out, I wouldn't be surprised if the Utah Jazz stopped the slide for Ace Bailey here. They did have tied for the best odds to get the number 1 pick, ended up falling to the number 5 pick in this draft. But Bailey's a guy who, you know, I think if he hits his ceiling, could end up being one of the 2 best players to come from this draft class. You know, he's 6'8". He's a tremendous scorer, someone who can make shots and make tough shots. Scored 39 points in February versus Indiana, 37 versus Northwestern, 30 versus Penn State, all within a 30-day span. So this is a guy who I think has a high ceiling in terms of what he can be at the NBA level. I think if you're the Utah Jazz, some new decision makers in that front office, Bailey, I think, would be a swing worth taking at number 5.
And this is why I said, Joe, we had to bring in the heavy hitters, already cruising our way 1 through 5. We appreciate you guys with that insight. Thanks so much. So the first 5 in the books, well, at least in our HQ mock draft. We're starting off Cooper Flagg going first overall. Dylan Harper, odds on, well, maybe former 5-star recruit joining Wemby in that one. BJ Edge comes to the Sixers, odds on favorite at 3. Meanwhile, looking at the Hornets with Trey Johnson, probably the best shooter, Gary said, and Ace Bailey stopping the sliding with Utah. And our HQ mock draft coming up. Washington Wizards on the clock, and one of our analysts is eyeing a Final Four sharpshooter as the ideal building block for the Wizards. Find out who next.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Someone targeted our daughter.
What are we going to do about it? I've got an idea.
Let's go.
NCIS, Tony and Ziva streaming this fall on Paramount+.
One of the best movies of the year is now streaming on Paramount+.
What are we dealing with here? There's a hostage situation.
Get the crew in. It's gripping from beginning to end.
We can't make one mistake.
September 5, now streaming on Paramount+.
The most original musical ever is now streaming on Paramount+.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
Better Man absolutely sizzles from start to finish. Better Man, now streaming on Paramount+.
This is Chicago. Street's always gonna have a villain.
To protect the city, we have to do something. Women, it's time to get to work.
The Shot, new season streaming May 16th, only on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
These are the voyagers of the Patrick Starship Enterprise.
Where's the sponge?
Weird dream.
Whether you like SpongeBob, Star Trek, or both, find your mountain on Paramount Plus.
I Novocaine?
Novocaine! Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong.
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits, every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount Plus.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me. You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Broke himself.
Please allow me to introduce myself. Mobland, new series now streaming on Paramount Plus.
She knows, and I know she knows. And that goes a little something like this. Here we go.
Back on HQ with our first round mock. The upcoming NBA draft, 6 through 10, includes more teams with more needs. That includes the shooting guard Suns, who round out the top 10 after Sunday's Durant trade and now look to fill some serious size needs. This hour presented by Jeep. There's only one. Adam Finkelstein, Gary Parrish, Kyle Boone back on the clock. Adam, I'm going to you first here. 6 is your spot, and you're representing the Brain Trust in D.C. Where's Washington headed?
Well, we've been trying very hard to convince Ace Bailey's representation to force their way to 6. So let's be clear about that. If that doesn't work out and someone basically calls his bluff, as we have Utah doing here, then I think Cotton Kneppel makes a lot of sense. The thing about Kneppel is that he's going to have an easier transition than most when it comes to playing with other good players. That's the big variable. When you go from college to the NBA and you're not the guy anymore, you're not the focal point. Well, Cotton Kneppel had to play off Cooper Flagg all year last year, and he did a darn good job of it. So he's already ahead of the curve with that. He's a terrific shooter of the basketball. He's a high IQ player. He understands spacing. He's a quick processor, quick decision maker. All the skills that give him such a high floor, meaning he's going to be able to come in and play right away. So listen, Washington is trying to get to Ace here. If it doesn't happen, I think they will be very happy if Con is available.
I'm very interested to see if there's a domino effect when it comes to Ace Bailey and what happens there. But next up, the New Orleans Pelicans sitting at 7. That's a team that many believe could build off their first-round exit from a season ago, but instead, any further from reality, they finished with the second worst record in the West. Now, barring any drastic moves this offseason, I'm looking at Zion. Who would you see New Orleans adding to Zion? Trey Murphy. We've got a couple of stars there at 7. Take this one, Gary.
Keon, I've got him selecting Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. He's a one-and-done guard. It's a unique story. He was ranked outside of the top 60 of his high school class and, reclassified up. So he's still just 18 years old and won't even turn 19 until October. So he's very young for the draft class. Incredible first step, great speed. As they say, just very difficult to stay in front of. The problem, of course, is the three-point shot. Only 28% from beyond the arc in that one season at Oklahoma. That is obviously a source of concern, and why Jeremiah Fears, among lottery options, is among the more polarizing prospects, because in this era of professional basketball, putting the ball in the hands of somebody who isn't going to be a reliable shooter or at least a threat from the perimeter causes a lot of problems for your offense. But you are betting that comes around, and there's some signs that suggest that it might. He is an 85% free throw shooter, and that's another strength in his game. Not just that he makes free throws at a high rate, but he gets there. Took more than 6 per game on average at Oklahoma. So you're just hoping that the shot comes around, because the other physical stuff of just getting to the rim, getting into the lane, beating a man off the dribble, he can do that arguably as well as anybody in this draft.
That's always a question of how the scoring will translate to the next level. There's one there where you feel strongly about that 17 points per game translating to some of the touches he's going to get perhaps in New Orleans. We're going to Brooklyn next, and as I take a look at the production, we're getting a little Cam heavy. Thomas and Johnson leading the way in the box score. The NAMA analytics have nothing to do with it, but Kyle, do you have you have any Cams on your board at number 9?
Yeah, the Cams are off the board. We're going to go with the Cats. I don't know if that sounds right.
That'll work.
From Illinois is going to be the pick here at number 8. Brooklyn has 4 first-round picks in this draft. They have a lot of flexibility. Wouldn't be surprised if they're moving up, moving down, moving out in this draft. But Kasper Jokic makes a lot of sense here. Someone who can be a lead guard in the NBA, produced at a high level in his 1 season in college, and this is someone who I think you can put the ball in his hands, run your offense. He's a good decision maker. Now, there's some questions about his turnovers, but I think the passing, the vision, the ability to lead an offense and initiate is very valuable, and I believe in the shot making. I believe that he can cut down some of the turnovers. So, Brooklyn, I think at number 8, can take a bit of a swing here on Jokic, who was really productive in his 1 season in college.
Absolutely. And so we move ahead now to the 9th pick. The Raptors on the clock. Adam, do you see them boosting their front court in this spot?
Yeah, for sure. If Kaman Malawach is available, I think he's the guy. I do think there's a decent chance he's not available. I think Brooklyn could be interested. I think San Antonio is going to try and trade up to get him. But if he is on the board at 9, I think Toronto would jump at it. Jakob Poeltl is their starting center right now. He's only got a year left on his deal. He was just floated in a potential package for Kevin Durant. Obviously, that didn't work out. So the writing is on the wall that they're going to look for their next center. Malawach would give them that. He is 7'2" with a 7'6" wingspan. His standing reach would be one of the very best in the NBA from day one. He's an incredible lob threat. Like, his radius for catching alley-oops is absolutely off the chart. That's why he was Cooper Flagg's primary target. He's very mobile for his size. He's a tremendous rim runner. And there is shot blocking potential. When you hear the metrics, I think people think he's probably a polished shot blocker right now. That's not necessarily the case. He's growing into that role, but obviously there is a world of potential there. He also fits the length and athleticism that Masai Ujiri always covets with Toronto, but doesn't necessarily have a lot of right now. This would check all the boxes, and I think, I don't want to say it would be an easy pick, but I don't think they would have to take the full 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's the type of talent that our next team also requires. The Suns following this latest dealing with Durant, the compensation part of it coming back, is this pick in the finals all of 4 years ago, and now looking for answers in the front court. Gary, we need something north of 6'7". Who you got?
I know the Suns do not think that they're rebuilding, but they probably are. This is going to get worse before it gets better, and that means they shouldn't be concerned at all about drafting somebody who is, quote, ready to play. And that's why I wouldn't have any reservations about spending this pick on Carter Bryant out of Arizona. He was just a role player for the Wildcats, and that is somewhat confusing, given that he was an impactful player when on the court, and Arizona was better when he was on the court. But still, just a role player in his 1 year of college. But at 6'7" with a nearly 7-foot wingspan, he projects as a great 3-and-D prospect. Eventually, should be able to switch everything and guard anybody from a 1 through a 4. There's some questions about what kind of offensive player he will eventually be, because he hasn't been a great one yet. But there's some thought that the shot can be there, and so he can be a shooter on the offensive end of the court and a switch everything defender on the defensive end of the court. If you watch these playoffs unfold, every team wants a Mikal Bridges or 3. I can't promise you Carter Bryant will be that, but among lottery options at this point in the draft, he has the best tools available to him to become a high-level 3-and-D guy in the NBA.
I mean, Phoenix, there's something they're not lacking. It's guys who can get shots up. We'll see what direction they go in this upcoming draft on Wednesday. Gentlemen, thank you. Be sure to tune into CBS Sports on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for our on-the-clock coverage. We'll be following the draft as it goes, pick by pick, with grades on those selections. Analysis of every player and selection, so much more. You won't want to miss it. Join us right here on CBS Sports HQ. Next up, we're getting to the meat of the draft, where need and talent often intertwine, and sometimes they head opposite directions. Blazers on the clock. Back quick.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Someone targeted our daughter.
What are we going to do about it? I've got an idea.
Let's go.
NCIS, Tony and Ziva streaming this fall on Paramount Plus.
One of the best movies of the year is now streaming on Paramount Plus. What are we dealing with here?
There's a hostage situation.
Get the crew in. It's gripping from beginning to end.
We can't make one mistake.
September 5, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The most original musical ever is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
Better Man absolutely sizzles from start to finish. Better Man now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is Chicago. Street's always gonna have a villain.
To protect the city, we have to do something. Women, it's time to get to work.
The Shot, new season streaming May 16th, only on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
These are the voyagers of the Patrick Starship Enterprise.
Where's the sponge?
Weird dream.
Whether you like SpongeBob, Star Trek, or both, find your mountain on Paramount Plus.
Hi. Novocaine?
Novocaine!
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong.
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits, every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount Plus.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me. You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Broke himself.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Mobland, new series now streaming on Paramount Plus.
She knows, and I know she knows. And that goes a little something like this. Here we go. Little something, little tune to play, make a good time
We're more than a third through the first round, 1 through 10 in the book still. Plenty of needy teams on the back end of the top 15, including the champs. This hour presented by Jeep. There's only one. As we're back with Adam Finkelstein, Kyle Boone, and Carrie Parrish for round 1 of our NBA mock draft. And now we're entering into the second half of the first round, and still some big names left on the board. The Blazers on the clock at pick 11. Their lone pick through the first 2 rounds, at least as where we stand now, but they'll need to hit on this one if it does stay that way. So Kyle, who is the most ideal fit at 11?
Yeah, if I'm Portland here, I'm kicking myself, first of all, that Carter Bryant went 1 pick before me, but I'm going to take a swing here with Noah Singwe. Prospect from France, still very, very young. And, you know, France, as you guys know, has produced some prodigious talents over the last couple of years. 2 number 1 picks have come from there. Victor Wembanyama, of course, and Zachary Risache, obviously in last year's draft class. And, you know, this is a guy who, Singwe, has a ton of tools. He's very long. Someone who I think can defend at a high level and has shown some real progression as a shooter as well. Portland has some young talent on this roster that I really like. They selected Donovan Clingan in last year's draft. Obviously, I think they're set at the big spot. So Singwe, I think, is a multi-positional wing who can fit on this roster. And obviously, they're pretty set as well in their backcourt. So,
all right, we're going to keep it professional. I'm going to try and keep this brief, but my Bulls still working the door in basketball purgatory. The promise of the architect, Arturas Karnisovas, yet to be realized. By way of a half-court heave and a coin flip, they find themselves at the tail end here of the lottery. Adam, humor me.
Well, Joe, I'll just say this. Did you think a little bit about Billy Donovan last night? Didn't want to rebuild?
A little bit. Thought crossed my mind.
I'm going to go Derek Queen. I think the Bulls need help in the front court. Colin Murray-Boyles is another name who's in the mix here. Essengwe would be a possibility if he were on the board. But I think what you get with Derek Queen is playmaking, right? He's a terrific ball handler, terrific passer for his size. He's got probably the best hands in the class. So when the game slows down, as it often does in the NBA, and you have to play in the half court, he's somebody you can play through, meaning you can throw it to him on the elbow and run different actions off him. You can put him in short rolls and let him read the floor. So that's a different kind of offensive weapon than I think they have right now in the front court. Make a lot of sense, but as I said, this is one of those things. Like right now, the intel is pointing more towards CMB, but sometimes that intel is smokescreen, and I do think Derek Queen would make sense here.
All right. Well, another season the Hawks have struggled to meet expectations. They made the play-in again, but also failed to make it out again. But sitting at 13, Gary, who can you see Atlanta coupling up with last year's #1 overall pick, Zachary Richichet, Trae Young, and also Dyson Daniels in the mix?
I have the Hawks taking Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. He is the son of an NBA veteran, of course, Jason Richardson, who also played at Michigan State. 6'1" combo guard, which makes him a little on the small side, I acknowledge, especially if he's playing off the ball. And at a time where the backcourts all over the NBA are getting bigger, just look at the top of this draft with Dylan Harper. This is probably the hardest it's ever been to be 6'1" or shorter in the NBA. But I do believe that this young man can make it. Over his final 15 games, after he became more of a part of Michigan State's rotation and was moved into the starting lineup, he was really terrific. Averaged 16 points, shot 47% from the field, and 42% from three-point range. So those are all impressive numbers. Obviously, they have Trae Young in Atlanta, but he only has one more year left on a contract, followed by a player option. So you don't need to be thinking about that too much. Just take best prospect available. And at least in my mind, at this point in this draft, Jace Richardson would be that guy.
Sub 6'1", you could very well be a television host. Extinguishing my hoop dreams there, Gary Parrish, one final time. The final lottery selection belongs to the San Antonio Spurs. Back on the clock, Kyle, appropriately, you play the role of Brian Wright once again. Your second selection, for the Spurs takes us where?
Yeah, we're going to select Will Riley from Illinois here, and I think it's pretty clear that the Spurs could be looking to add some size here. I think Asa Newell could make some sense. Danny Wolf would make some sense. Some of the centers in this range I think are very much in play for the Spurs. But Will Riley, someone who is only one season at college with the University of Illinois, has a really good size, a good frame, someone who produced at a high level last season in Brad Underwood's offensive system. And, I think there's a lot to like here. He showed a lot of flash in his mid-range scoring, can expand it out to the three-point range, probably needs to improve his physicality. I don't think he's going to be ready to contribute at a high level next season for the Spurs. But, I think San Antonio right now is in a spot where they're looking long-term. What can they build with Victor Wembanyama? What can they build with Dylan Harper? I think Will Riley would be an interesting play here at number 14.
Another young name that could be an immediate impact player right there. But guys, the champ is here. I mean, it's not bad to win a title with a strong young core and ample draft picks, and then you're back on the clock. The Thunder with that 15th pick. GM Sam Presti has done a phenomenal job thus far with the young talent, but how do you guys see them continuing to roll with this, Adam?
Well, the rich are going to get richer if Cedric Howard is still on the board here, because I think there's a better than average chance that he is not available. If he is, I do expect that OKC will scoop him right up. He just fits their blueprint to a T. Positional size, length, he's got huge hands. He comes from a potential 3-and-D archetype because he's over 40% from the three-point line, and he's got the body type and competitiveness that should really translate on the defensive end of the floor. And that's the blueprint for OKC. This is a defensive-first club. That's how they won this first NBA championship. And Howard would give them a versatile and ascending big wing who's a classic late bloomer. Remember, as Matt Norlander did that terrific feature recently, this guy started playing Division III college basketball, has worked his way all the way up. He's got a very good chance, or at least a good chance, to be a lottery pick in 48 hours. But if he's available at 15, I think he becomes the latest member of OKC.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that's been sliding up a lot of draft boards as of late, like you mentioned, Adam, former Division III player, moving his way to potentially a lottery pick. You got him slotted at 15 with the Champs. As always, guys, good stuff right there. Appreciate it. So we've officially reached the halfway point of our HQ NBA mock draft. Currently, we got Noah Singway to the Blazers. Kyle's calling him a multi-positional wing. Derek Queen to the Bulls.
I mean, give me the jersey right now. I'll buy the jersey right now.
Adam said he has the best hands in the class, so you should feel good about that.
Shot of the tournament.
Feel good about that. Jason Richardson to the Hawks, son of Jason Richardson. Will Riley out of Illinois to the Spurs, adding to that young talent there. And Cedric Coward running out 15, going to the Champs. Coming up, what direction do the Grizzlies go in the post-Desmond Bane era? We're going to discuss this and more coming up.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Someone targeted our daughter.
What are we going to do about it? I've got an idea.
Let's go.
NCIS Tony and Ziva streaming this fall on Paramount Plus.
One of the best movies of the year is now streaming on Paramount Plus. What are we dealing with here?
There's a hostage situation.
Get the crew in. It's gripping from beginning to end.
We can't make one mistake.
September 5, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The most original musical ever is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
Better Man absolutely sizzles from start to finish. Better Man now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is Chicago. Street's always gonna have a villain.
To protect the city, we have to do something. Women, it's time to get to work.
The Shot, new season streaming May 16th, only on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
These are the voyagers of the Patrick Starship Enterprise.
Where's the sponge?
Weird dream.
Whether you like SpongeBob, Star Trek, or both, find your mountain on Paramount Plus.
Hi. Novocaine?
Novocaine!
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong.
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits, every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount Plus.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me. You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Problem solved.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Mobland, new series now streaming on Paramount Plus.
She knows, and I know she knows. And that goes a little something like this. Here we go. Little something, little tune to play, make a good time fun.
Back on HQ's NBA mock draft presented by Jeep, there's only one. A look at number 16 and taking you through 22. Memphis leading things off after limping to the finish in another suspension-abridged season for their star and a core recently dismantled. That's Desmond Bane out. That's Gary Parrish back in. Gary, do we immediately look to backfill that sort of production here at 16? Tough ask, I know.
I don't think so, and I don't think you're going to find a Desmond Bain level player at 16, although I understand Desmond Bain was picked much lower than 16 in his draft. The Grizzlies will fill that role elsewhere, either with a trade or free agency, and I think they're just taking best prospect available, which is why I have them selecting Colin Murray-Bowles out of South Carolina. Like Fink said, there's a decent chance that he won't be available at this point in the actual draft, but he was available at this point in our mock draft. He's an interesting player in the sense that he's a 6'7" front court player, so an undersized big who doesn't really shoot it. Only took 1-3 a game and shot 26.5% from beyond the arc in his sophomore season. So the obvious question is, why is he an option in the top 16 of this draft? And I think the explanation is he just has an incredible feel for the game. I've heard some compare him as like a Draymond Green light or a poor man's Draymond Green in the sense that, he can guard bigger players, play small ball 5. And in Memphis, alongside Jaren Jackson Jr., basically any front court player fits well with Jaren Jackson Jr. because he's so versatile. He can step away from the basket. He can play the 4 or the 5. So Colin Murray-Bowles would fit with Triple J. And I think if he's available, that would make a lot of sense for the franchise in Memphis.
All right, I want to go from one playoff team in the West to another because the Wolves are fresh off back-to-back exits in the conference finals, looking to build around Anthony Edwards. But like we kind of saw at the end of their playoff run, Kyle, is pick 17 maybe an opportunity to help free up their star player, or do they fill some other holes there?
Yeah, we're going to give them some depth here. This roster has some question marks even going into this offseason. Both Julius Randle and Naz Reid have player options going into next season. And, I think front court depth is always going to be an issue for this team. So I'm have them selecting Maxime Reynaud here. He's a 7-footer from Stanford, one of the best players in the ACC last season. And I would describe him as an unusual 7-footer. He's not a lob threat, a rim runner. He is a 7-footer who plays kind of like a shooting guard in some ways. He can put the ball on the floor. He can attack the basket. He can shoot threes at a pretty high level. So, I think that versatility, when you're looking to add pieces around Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, I think Reynaud's fit would be pretty seamless for that Minnesota franchise.
We'll see if that is the case. If availability is there at 17, Washington is back on the clock at 18. This is a pick that was acquired from Memphis in a previous deal. Adam, we're getting to that point of the draft where it's pick your own adventure. Here in the first round, what lies behind door number 18?
Well, Washington's been doing a lot of that in the last draft cycle. Big swing, because I've got him going with Jean Béringa from France. Picture this guy. He's 18 years old, 6'11" without shoes on, a 7'4.5" wingspan. He's also exceptionally athletic for his size. He's got terrific hands. So while he's young and relatively young to the game, his upside is undeniable. And he also comes from an archetype that is valued in today's NBA as a rim runner, shot blocker, and lob threat. So I really do think he has the upside to blossom into a starting center in the NBA. I think he's going to be able to do other things too, play out of dribble handoffs. Those hands give him a higher upside than most from his archetype. So I think the Wizards would be pleasantly surprised if Béringa is available when 18 rolls around.
All right, a young big there for Washington. But meanwhile, at 18, Brooklyn with their second first-round pick. And they've been amongst some of the busiest teams in this pre-draft process. But, Gary, what direction do they follow up on at 19?
I have him taking Liam McNeely out of UConn. He's a 6'7" wing, described as a shooter, and I recognize that he only shot 1.7% from 3 on the season, but there's enough data on him dating back to high school grassroots basketball that most front offices are not concerned with that number at all. He had a up and down freshman season, suffered an ankle injury that got him off track just a bit, and again the shooting percentages was not where it needed to be. But I've made this point about different prospects over the years when they fit this mold. A shooter who didn't shoot well in 1 year of college. The great example of this is Bradley Beal, who shot 33.9% from 3 in his 1 season at Florida. Similarly, front offices were not concerned about that because they understood that was not a real number, that he was a better shooter than that. 13 years into his NBA career, Bradley Beal has shot better in the NBA per season than he did at Florida. 12 of the 13 years. I would suspect something like that for Liam McNeely as well. In fact, I would argue the worst three-point percentage he will record post-high school, it might be the one that he did at UConn.
So you're saying it's a good contract on Beal. A different conversation, different day. I apologize, Gary Parrish. We do need to take our talents to Miami here. They'll make their first selection at 20th overall. And Kiana, you said something important earlier. This is what we know right now. Miami could be a player for a name, and this could be part of the conversation, or excuse me, the compensation. Our conversation is about an 8 seed in 3 consecutive seasons here in Miami, underperforming to their expectation, lacking an elite star power in this post-Butler world now. Kyle, where do we find production at 20?
There's a good value here at number 20. I have them selecting Nick Clifford from Colorado State. And, you know, my prediction, I think, in this draft for Miami will be at pick 20, they will go guard. I think they could consider Walter Clayton Jr. Here at number 20, Nolan Traore is still on the board. That would be an option as well. But Clifford is a productive college player, spent 5 years at that level, and grew into an All-American at Colorado State, someone whose shot I really trust to rely on. He was very productive as both scorer, as a shooter, and also as a playmaker. And I think Miami is trying to prioritize upgrading its backcourt this season, this offseason, around Tyler Hero. Clifford could absolutely do that. I think his range is somewhere between 15 and 25 in this draft, makes Miami a perfect landing spot here.
Nice, that Colorado State product taking his talents down to South Beach. Meanwhile, out in Utah, the Jazz back on the clock for their second of 4 picks at 21. Adam, where do they build on this rebuild here?
Well, I know what I'm supposed to say here, right? BYU is still on the board, and the Jazz are supposed to take them, and that's what everybody's mocking. But we're throwing a little curveball here. I'm going with Danny Wolf. I think with Austin Ainge taking over this front office, what we're hearing is that he will have complete autonomy, not only to make the pick he wants, but not even to have the same level of commitment to previous picks. He's just going to take the best prospect on the board, and he's not going to be held accountable for the decision making of the previous decision makers, which was, his dad. But regardless, Danny Wolf is 6'11". He's highly skilled. He's a terrific dribbler, terrific passer, and really a playmaker who operated as like a point forward of sorts for Michigan last year. They've already got Walker Kessler, but Lauri Markkanen is a big unknown now. Does he align with the rebuild plans in Utah? Will he go back on the trade market? Those are things we don't know. And Danny Wolf will be a heck of a contingency option if they do have to move on from Markkanen.
All right, we're once again assessing the needs of Atlanta, of which there are many. A pair of play-in ball-outs, as we outlined previous. Hiring of Quinn Snyder was supposed to lead things in the right direction, and still they feel stagnant right now. The Hawks, again, at 22. What's the pick that we're finding there?
I've got him taking Yegor Dimon out of BYU, the prospect Fink mentioned previously. Had Atlanta taken a little guard earlier in the first round. Now I get him taking a big guard. He's 6'8", great positional size, but he was not a great player in his 1 year of college. Turned it over a lot, shot below 30% from three-point range. Needless to say, that will not be good enough. If he turns it over like that and doesn't shoot it well, the great positional size won't help keep him on the court. He has to improve in a variety of ways. So this is a big upside swing, but at this point in the draft, this is a guy some people have going in the lottery, even close to the top 10. I think if you can get him at this point in the draft, he's worth a big swing in the 20s.
Yeah, you guys are the professionals in this realm. I often measure off of how many times did I say your name in highlights when we get to draft season, and that is a name we got to know in his production there at BYU. Thank you, gentlemen. Taking a look once again at these picks in this range from 16 to 22. A talent at 22, Yegor Dimon out of BYU. Some Big Ten in there as well, and you know it's in vogue. You gotta get a young guy from France, right? That's all the rage right now. An 18-year-old there at number 18. Coming up, we'll take you to the end of round one, including a Jazz team coming off their worst campaign in franchise history. More from them. Orlando on the clock as well. Solutions on the other side.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, play plenty of superstar showdowns and an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Someone targeted our daughter.
What are we going to do about it? I've got an idea.
Let's go.
NCIS Tony and Ziva streaming this fall on Paramount Plus.
One of the best movies of the year is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
What are we dealing with here? There's a hostage situation. Get the crew in.
It's gripping from beginning to end.
We can't make a blunt mistake.
September 5, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The most original musical ever is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I'm just giving the people what they want.
Better Man absolutely sizzles from start to finish. Better Man now streaming on Paramount Plus.
This is Chicago. Street's always gonna have a villain.
To protect the city, we have to do something. Women, it's time to get to work.
The Shy, new season streaming May 16th, only on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
These are the voyagers of the Patrick Starship Enterprise.
Where's the sponge?
Weird dream.
Whether you like SpongeBob, Star Trek, or both, find your mountain on Paramount Plus.
Hi. Novocaine?
Novocaine!
Novocaine is now streaming on Paramount Plus.
You're gonna love this.
Oh, you're strong!
It's wildly entertaining and an absolute blast.
I'm in.
Novocaine, rated R, now streaming on Paramount Plus.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits, every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount Plus.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me. You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Problem solved.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Mobland, new series now streaming on Paramount Plus.
She knows, and I know she knows. And that goes a little something like this. Here we go. Little something, little tune to play, make a good time
Time to put a bow on round one. We've got back-to-back picks, former NBA champs, and teams with new trade assets, all rounding out the first 30 picks. Back with our HQ GMs. Adam Finkelstein, Kyle Boone, Gary Parrish on hand as we put a bow on our NBA mock draft presented by Jeep. There's only one. The Pelicans back on the clock in the first round at 23. That was acquired in a trade with the Pacers. So, Kyle, what direction do they go this time around?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they go here. They selected Jeremiah Fears in this mock, and so, this is a new front office led by Joe Dumars. I have them selecting Drake Powell from North Carolina, and this is a prospect who was a former five-star recruit, mostly struggled at North Carolina, did not completely stand out, and I talked to him at the NBA Draft Combine. He said, look, this was a situation where I didn't feel I completely got to showcase myself. There's a lot of teams that are buying into that. The peripherals of his profile suggest that he can grow into something of a reliable starter at the NBA level. Really good shooter, quality defender, and someone who I think ends up going somewhere in the 20s. I think for this Pelicans franchise, they wouldn't make a lot of sense to take a big swing here on Drake Powell.
All right, we got the champs slotted again at number 24, like you said, because Sam Presti says so. That's also a function of that 2019 Paul George trade that brought SGA to OKC, title now secured, and still making those picks. Adam, who's off the board at 24?
I think Thomas Sorber is a prospect that OKC has long been connected with, exceeded all expectations this year. Got into the best shape of his career, has terrific hands, touch around the rim, but also the skill set to gradually step away. Now, at the Combine, although he was hurt and unable to participate in most of the athletic testing, he measured exceptionally well. What I will tell you, though, is since the Combine, some of the concerns about his conditioning have resurfaced. So there is some speculation that maybe he won't get picked quite as high as we might have anticipated weeks ago. Now, if that is the case, it would explain why he could be available here at 24 for OKC, whereas a month ago in Chicago, I would have thought he would have been off the board at this point.
All right, moving along, the Magic making their first selection at number 25. It's a new look Magic team. I mean, they committed a lot of draft capital and a lot of their future in that Desmond Bane trade. Gary, what piece do you see them adding to this now? Bane, Banchero, Wagner, Suggs core that they've got going on.
Yeah, with the East opening up with all of these Achilles injuries to superstars, you know, if you're Orlando, you think you can make a move next season, and that's the motivation behind the Desmond Bane trade. Here, I think you're just looking for an interesting piece to add to your roster without worrying about playing time too much, and I've got him selecting Asa Newell out of Georgia. He is another one-and-done player, 6'11", big, a good athlete, and that's how he produced at a nice level at Georgia, just getting by on size and athleticism. But the truth is, in the NBA, certainly in this era, you're going to usually need more than that. And that suggests that the three-point shot is going to have to come around. He did not shoot it well at Georgia, below 30%. And if that can't be better, improve to the point to where you have to guard him out to that line, then it may be difficult to stick in this league. But, you know, he looks the right way. He measures the right way. And if you can get some skill set to go along with that athleticism, you've got an interesting prospect.
All right, next up, pick twice. It's the Brooklyn way. Back-to-back for BKNY at 26 and 27.
I see what you did there, by the way.
We try, you know, we're late in the first round. The GMs are just stringing it together. We're just stringing it together. Our guys do have all the answers here. 26, Kyle, who's off the board first out of these two picks?
Yeah, number 26 for the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to select French prospect Noah Pinda, and you know it's in vogue, as you mentioned, to select and fish from the French pool. Pinda is just another in the latest long line of French prospects who looks to be on track to be a first-round pick. Big wing from France, reminds me a little bit of OG Anunoby, just in the way that he commits defensively on that side of the floor. I think there's some questions probably about projecting his offensive game, still a little bit raw. I think he needs to improve his three-point shot. You could say that a lot about a player's that are going to be selected in this range. But, you know, Brooklyn, again, if they keep the 4 first-round picks, there's a chance that these guys are not going to be asked to be relied on early in their NBA career. Pinda has a chance to grow and develop, and if he is able to establish that, able to add some of those pieces to his game, he could be a real quality NBA contributor down the line.
All right. So, Adam, Kyle has the Brooklyn fishing from the French pool with Pinda. So that's the first of their back-to-back. What do they do with the second one?
Well, they're going to Gainesville to go fishing because that's what Walter Clayton, the guy, won a national championship. And I think he's one of the best shooters in this draft. I think he really helped his stock this year, not by leading Florida to the national championship, but although that certainly didn't hurt, but by proving that he could play both on and off the ball. This was his 4th season of college basketball, and in the first 3, he was exclusively off the ball. For Todd Golden this year, he ran the point. Now, he's physically strong. He's got a football background. I do think he will be required to be a more competitive defender in the NBA than he was in. But, guys, I'm just going to tell you this. I would be shocked if Walter Clayton is on the board at 27. He's been canceling workouts at the end of the first round. I think you got to look at Miami, New Orleans, Orlando, places like that, I think have a very good chance of taking him before he gets to 27. All
right, I'm completely surprised here. I was preparing to make a joke, but I can get you a direct flight from Gainesville to Paris for $669. I can't get back to Chicago for $669.
Direct?
From LaGuardia.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I think you might have a layover in Tahiti, but we'll make it work.
I'll make that work.
Boston's got to make it work without Jason Tatum.
Absolutely.
This season. 28 is the first time we will see them. No Tatum once again after that Achilles tear. Still feels like a significant player in the East with all the talent on that roster, the depth, sort of the bar that they've set for themselves. Gary, where do they look at for their first selection of this draft?
Well, you're not going to replace Jason Tatum this deep in this draft or any draft, but you can add an interesting piece in this first round. And I've got him selecting Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. This is a guy who is 6'7", 6'8", 230 pounds. Great body, great frame, great athlete, and shot nearly 40% from three-point range on a decent number of attempts per game. So he checks a lot of boxes here. There's some questions about his feel for the game and, other aspects, how quickly he processes things on the offensive end, on the defensive end, how quickly he can make reads. But a great athlete who can shoot it and has decent positional size, that's somebody that should be on everybody's radar at this point in the draft. And so whether he goes in the 20s or 30s, he should be selected and be the type of player who is at least capable of possibly contributing pretty quickly because, he is a little older of a prospect.
We will have 90 minutes in Atlanta. I apologize.
Oh, okay. That's fine. It's a large airport.
We found a third team for the trade, like I like to say in the NBA.
There we go. Well, like you said earlier, Joe, Suns, because after finishing 11th in the West, Phoenix back on the clock with the second to last pick of the first round. So, Kyle, what prospect do you have on the board in this new era? Can we call it that in Phoenix?
Sure, yeah, you can call it that. Look, my fellow co-GM, Gary Parrish, selected Carter Bryant with the number 10 pick for the Suns earlier in this mock draft. I'm going to come back in here, add a point guard in Nolan Traore, who I think could really complement both of those prospects and kind of help establish the future of this franchise. Traore is a guy who actually began the draft cycle as a potential top 5 pick, struggled earlier in the season, but has really made some headway here over the last couple months and is playing overseas. He's from France. We love the French prospects, and obviously is playing in the LNB Pro A, which is where Victor Wembanyama played. It's where Bilal Coulibaly played. So he's producing at a high level right now, and I think he could end up going in the top 20. So at number 29, I think this is a really good steal for the Phoenix Suns.
All right, final pick of the first round is pretty cool. It's pretty freaking cool. The Clippers, their owner, their state-of-the-art stadium, all that talent still hasn't amounted to anything of real significance at this point. What sort of difference can be made at 30, Adam?
Well, the defensive difference. Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton, one of the best defenders in college basketball in recent years. Going to be one of the biggest players in the NBA right away. Drop coverage monster. Ball a little bit. I think he's a long-term, reliable backup center in the NBA. And if you can get that at 30, it's real good value.
Many thanks to our GMs in standing. That is round 1 of the NBA draft. The real thing coming your way on Wednesday. Plenty of work for these gentlemen between now and then. Be sure to tune in to CBS Sports HQ on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for our on-the-clock coverage. We'll be following the draft as it goes. Pick-by-pick grades, analysis of every player and selection, and so much more. You won't want to miss it. Join us on the clock with the NBA draft.
Go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving.